how's it going? Laura with Garden Answer. I am getting ready to plant a bunch of gorgeous Coleus today. So I planted all of these autumn frost hostas this spring, and in the video where I planted these, I mentioned that I was going to plant a bunch of Coleus in here because I don't know what I want to do in this space long term. I do know that I want to come in with maybe some shade-loving perennials and shrubs and do something a little bit more permanent. But in the meantime, while I'm still thinking about what I want to do, I decided that Coleus would be a really good option. And that's something I wanted to talk about in this video as well. Maybe you are like me, you have areas that you don't really know what you want to do with yet, so they're just going to sit there blank until you figure it out. Or maybe you've already planted your new things, but they're just baby shrubs or baby perennials and they're still really small, so you've got a lot of space left. And maybe you have like a big event coming up, like a graduation or a wedding. I mean, it happened at the garden center all the time. We'd have people come in and say, I've already spruced up my yard, I've planted new things, but I just don't have that wow factor. Plant some annuals just to fill in the space in the meantime until you either figure out what you want or until your plants mature and get bigger. So I wanted to share some of my go-to annuals that give you kind of the most bang for your buck. They grow the biggest and fill the most amount of space that you don't have to buy 100 different annuals to fill a spot. So for shady areas like this, my go-to is always Coleus. This is Dipped in Wine. This is the one I'm planting today. I'm just going to plant a mass of just this one variety because I think it'll be really striking. So this Coleus grows about 20 to 36 inches tall and 20 to 24 inches wide. So it really fills in a space really, really quickly. And I think that the coloring is gorgeous, that kind of deep burgundy or wine color. And then the margin is kind of that bright chartreuse. I think it's going to be a really nice contrast to the hostas that I have going on in here. I think it's going to be a really nice pair. The other shade-loving annual that I like to plant is a sweet potato vine. Either the dark colored ones or the green ones. They just make a really nice soft ground cover and they'll fill in an area and just make it look lush. Now, if you have a sunny area, the best plant, hands down, is Supertunia Vista. So a Vista Silverberry, Vista Bubblegum, Vista Fuchsia. One of those three, you plant one and they get like this big in the landscape, which is amazing. The other thing is Alyssum, and I'm not talking like the old-timey varieties that you get in the 4-packs at the garden center. I'm talking like Snow Princess, White Knight, and Blushing Princess. I have a really good experience with those 3 varieties. I planted them last year. One plant, I pulled it out for the season and I held it up next to me, started about here and it went all the way to the ground. It was amazing. And sweet potato vine also does really well in a sunny area. So those are a few of the plants that I just kind of fall back on when I have areas like this because I know I'm not going to have to plant an enormous amount of them to really have a statement. Okay, so let me explain this area a little bit. So I've got the hostas. I have a couple of huge pine trees right here to my right. And I did go ahead and run drip tubing in this area, so it was all ready to go. But you'll notice I kind of stopped in kind of an awkward spot. Aaron and I are planning on building a walkway right here. It may not happen this year, but either way, we run our lawnmower in and out to this grassy area behind me through this area. So I'm only going to be planting to about this drip tubing right here. So I'm just going to get started. I'm going to lay them out first and then I'll get them all in the ground. Doesn't this area look so nice? I love how it turned out even before the Coleus have grown. I think the color is wonderful. So I did throw in a little bit of continuous release plant food in each of the holes that I dug for these Coleus. Like I said, I already had the drip tubing run, so the irrigation is set, but I did go ahead and water them in today. And I'll be keeping an eye on them for the first couple of weeks until I know they're rooted in. And then the drip system can kind of take over and water from that point on. And then I did top dress with mulch because that makes everything look great. And then I will be fertilizing these on a weekly basis. So if you want them to grow big, you've got to feed them big. So I have all of my annuals on a weekly fertilizing schedule and they just respond really well to that. I do think I'm going to add a container about right here, just kind of a smallish one to designate the spot and maybe kind of give it some closure because it does kind of end oddly right here. And once we get the pathway in, it'll make a whole lot more sense. But I think it might look good to kind of start the area off with something hardscape to kind of stop your eye a little bit and make it seem like its own area. And the last thing I wanted to mention about Coleus is that we grow it for its foliage, not for its blooms. It does bloom, but the blooms can kind of tend to make the plant look a little bit messy. But the wonderful thing about this dipped in wine variety, in fact, all of Proven Winners Coleus varieties, is that they have been bred to either not bloom at all or bloom really late in the season. So you're not out there all the time pinching blooms off, deadheading them to make them look nice. So I really appreciate that about this type of Coleus. So I'm really excited to give you guys updates as the season progresses on this. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.